One server, 8 dedicated CPU cores, 16 GB of ECC RAM, my own Git hosting, website hosting, and Claude Code running directly on the machine. 30 euros a month, no contract, set up in under an hour. My name is Damian Savic. In this video, I'm going to show you how I move my portfolio of Vercel and GitHub onto a single Netcup root server. No managed platform, no build minutes, no vendor lock-in, just Linux. Right now my portfolio runs on Vercel. My code lives on GitHub. Both of them work fine, but my deployment pipeline is spread across two companies I have zero control over. Vercel Pro is $20 a month the moment you go past the hobby limits. GitHub is another $4 to $21 a month, depending on the plan. And if either one changes their pricing, their terms, or their build limits, I find out by email. The other problem is speed. Every time I want to test something on a real server, I need a real server. For today's video, I'm using Netcup. The machine is an RS2000 G12. AMD EPYC 9645. 8 dedicated cores, not shared, dedicated. 16 GB of DDR5 ECC RAM. 512 GB of NVMe on a hardware RAID controller. Traffic flat rate. Guaranteed location, Nuremberg, Germany. 29 euros and 61 cents per month, including 19% German VAT. Now, two honest notes on that price. First, I'm taking the 1 month contract. 1 month minimum, 1 month billing, cancel whenever I want. If you commit to 12 months, Netcup takes 17% off. That's about 25 euros a month, but it's billed 12 months at a time. So that's roughly 300 euros upfront. I'm paying the extra 5 euros a month to stay flexible. Second, there's a 30-day satisfaction guarantee on first orders, so if you follow along and hate it, you get your money back. The workflow for today's project consists of 7 phases. Phase 1, order the server, install Ubuntu, set up DNS early. Phase 2, create the user, SSH login and sudo rights. Phase 3, harden the server. Phase 4, install Claude Code. Phase 5, install Gitea. Phase 6, migrate the GitHub repository. Phase 7, deploy the site, switch the domain and get SSL. Total time under 60 minutes. Phase 1, the server. Contract period, 1 month. Location, Nuremberg, Germany. One thing to notice here, no preference Europe is almost 4 euros cheaper. But then your server lands in Austria, Germany or the Netherlands and you don't get to pick. I want Nuremberg, so I'm paying for Nuremberg. After I've configured the server and added it to the shopping cart, I'm going to proceed with the payment. And here's my order summary for the RS2000 G12 IP4 Nuremberg server configuration. And now I'm going to wait for the order fulfillment. After payment and fulfillment, now the part that confuses everyone on their first Netcup server. There are 2 panels. CCP, the customer control panel. That's contracts, invoices, and upgrades. And here we can see our product. And then there's the SCP, the server control panel. That's the actual machine. You get separate login details for each by email. We want SCP. In the server control panel, we're going to switch over to servers, select our server, go to media, images. Here we're going to select Ubuntu 22.04.5. Now, the only thing that we're going to change on the settings page, create an additional user and click install. And right here on the top, we can see that the image installation is currently running. When it's done, Netcup shows you the root password. Copy it. You'll need it in exactly 1 minute and never again after that. One more thing before we move on. Snapshots. I'm taking one right now on a clean Ubuntu install. I'm going to call the snapshot installation with the current date, so let's go. Server snapshot creation is running. Why? Because in phase 3, I'm going to change the SSH configuration, and if I get that wrong, I want a 30-second wait back instead of a reinstall. So now we've created the snapshot, and we can export it to our machine. Done. Last step of phase 1, and this one saves you 15 minutes later. I'm adding one A record for my domain I'm hosting using Ionis. Host git value my new server IP. The TTL is going to be as low as it goes. 1 minute. My new A record was successfully created. Now we've just prepared the migration from Vercel to the server, but the portfolio is still live on Vercel and I don't want any downtime. DNS propagation takes time. So I start it now and let it run in the background while I do everything else. Phase 2, the user. First, log in as root using the root password. Here in the console, we're gonna type in login. Now we're in. Working as root is a bad habit, so I'm creating a real user. Setting a password, the rest can be blank. So there we go. Now we're going to give our user sudo rights so that we can actually control the machine. Now the SSH key. Unlike some providers, Netcup doesn't inject your public key at order time. You start with a password, so we fixed that right now. If you don't have a key yet, we're going to generate one using the following command: ssh-keygen-t ed25519-c Damian @Claude Code. First, I'm going to access the machine using the user and the password we've created. Now we're going to create the SSH directory on the machine and also set the right permissions with chmod 700//. In order to install Nano, we're going to use sudo apt update, and after providing our password, it's going to be updated. Now that we've pulled the updates, we can install Nano. And with the following command, I'm gonna add our private key right here. So let me grab it real quick. After adding the one line with the public key inside the authorized keys file, I pressed Ctrl-O to save the file and Ctrl-X to close it. Now we're going to need one more command, which is going to be chmod 600 for authorized keys. And now we're going to close the connection to the server. And now we can access the server using our SSH key. The public key is stored on the server and the private key is stored on our machine. This way we can access the server using this single command right here. Now the part you actually came for. I don't want to type in any IP address every single time. On my machine, I'm editing the SSH config file, adding the following parameters to it. On Windows, you will find the SSH config file under C users yourname.sshconfig. And I'm adding this block because it works perfectly fine for me. Host is going to be Claude Code. Hostname is going to be our server IP. User is going to be the username for the user we've created on the server. And then the rest should be just pasted as is. Now let's save it with the correct parameters so that we can immediately use it. Now let's give our new command a try. SSH Claude Code. Done. That's it. One word and I'm on the server as my own user with my own key. Quick sudo test. Sudo apt update. Sudo works. Phase 3, hardening. This server has a public IP and a password login that currently works. Within about 10 minutes of going live, bots start knocking on port 22. That's not paranoia, that's just the internet. First, SSH. The following command is going to allow us to edit our hardening config. Sudo nano etc ssh sshd config /99hardening.conf. And we're going to add the following configuration to it. Permit root login? No. Password authentication? No. KBD interactive authentication? No. PubKey authentication? Yes. Max auth tries 3. Allow users? Damian Savic. Hit Ctrl-O. Hit Ctrl-X. Root login off. Password login off completely. One user allowed in. Test the syntax before restarting. Use the following commands. Sudo ssh-t sudo system control restart ssh. This is important. Do not close this terminal. Open a second window and test the login there. Again, SSH Claude Code, and as we can see, permission denied. If it works, you're safe. If it doesn't, you still have this session to undo it. And if you close both anyway, you've got the snapshot from phase 1 and the remote control console and SCP. That console works even when SSH doesn't. After adding the right username to my hardening config, we can see that it works. Second, the firewall. And here's a real difference compared to some other providers. Netcup doesn't give you a separate network level firewall you can click together. Your firewall is the one on the machine. So this step isn't optional here. We're going to use the following commands to set up our firewall. Firewall is active and enabled on the system. 3 ports open, everything else closed. Third, fail to ban. We're going to use the following commands. And we're going to add the following lines to the file. We just need to enable it and start fail to ban. And yeah, we now need to investigate what's going on. Something's wrong with the machine. Just a second. In the meantime, fail to ban banned my PC's IP address, so I had to use the SAP console, log in, and unban my IP. Now we have a 1-hour ban after 3 failed login attempts. 4. Automatic security updates. For that, we're going to use the following commands. Done, everything's up to date. Now let's talk about DDoS honestly, because this is where Netcup is actually strong. Netcup includes DDoS protection on every root server free, by default. An extra DDoS guard, filtering capacity up to 2 terabytes per second. Phase 4, Claude Code. This is the part that makes the rest fast. Instead of me writing nginx configs by hand, I'm installing Claude Code on the server and letting it do the work. We're going to use the following command to install Claude Code. And once it's installed, you then have the possibility to log into your Claude account. Just make sure that Claude is referenced in your path. And to make sure that this is the case, we're going to use the following commands. So we're going to add Claude to the path right away. And then we can use which Claude to see where it's referenced and the Claude version to check it. So this is the currently installed version 2.1.220. And once we've done that, we can then use Claude to run Claude Code on the machine. Installing it for the first time requires you to authenticate and use your Claude account you usually sign into. What we're going to do now, we're going to log out real quick because I already set it up here. And we're going to use Claude to log in once again using a Claude account with a subscription. So on a headless server, there's no browser. So it prints a URL, which we're going to copy and open in our browser where we've already signed into our Claude Code account. And then we copy the token or the code which we've been provided with. And you can see the login was successful and press enter to continue. Press enter. Yes, I trust this folder and let's go. So now we can once again enter Claude. And we're already signed in. So now Claude Code is running on my server. Phase 5, Gitea. Gitea is a self-hosted Git service. Think GitHub, but it's yours. And it runs in about 200 megabytes of RAM. Docker, because it's the fastest path and the cleanest to remove later. We're going to use the following commands. We're going to install Docker, add our user to it, and create a new group. We've added the wrong user to the group. Should have been another one. Let me fix that real quick. Yeah, perfect. So the command I was using added the wrong user. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fix this real quick. And then I'm going to provide it with the right password. Of course, with the sudo rights, we now have the possibility to install Docker. And once we've done that, now the compose file. We're going to create a new directory for Gitea, and then we're going to create the compose file. So here's the compose file. It was an artifact in my Claude chat, and this should be the right one. Let me just check real quick. Yeah, perfect. 127.0.0.1, not just 3000. Why? Because Docker writes its own IP tables rules and punches straight through UFW. If you publish a port the normal way, your firewall does not stop it. And remember, on this server, UFW is the only firewall we have. So this one line matters more here than it would anywhere else. Binding to localhost means only nginx on this machine can reach Gitea. Start it. We're going to use the following command. Done. Now nginx, so we can actually reach it. This is where I let Claude Code do the work. Install nginx and certbot. Create an nginx site for git.damian-savage.com that reverse proxies to 127.0.0.1 port 3000 with client max body size 512 megabytes and the standard proxy headers. Enable it, test the config, reload nginx. So Claude Code is currently working. And of course, we get an error 529 overloaded. So the current Claude status reads elevated errors across all models. It's been identified and they've been working on it for the past 2 hours. So let's take a break. We're back at it again and we're gonna run the same prompt right now. And it seems to be working. Yes, allow the commands. If everything goes as planned, we should be through all these steps in no time. Claude Code is currently working and now we're waiting for the completion. Now Claude provided us with the first version. Okay, so sudo can prompt there either. You'll need to run this in a real terminal window. Now we're gonna need a separate session and we're gonna do the following. Sudo apt get update, sudo apt get install nginx insertbot, python 3 certbot, nginx. Okay, it's working. And now we're gonna use this command right here. I'm gonna format it the right way so that we can use it immediately. So here we go in a single line. We're gonna run this command and then this one right here as well. In another window, I'm using ChatGPT with the instant model 5.5. It's just formatting the commands. And as we can see, everything is working. Now the syntax was correct and the test was successful as well, as we can see here. Syntax is okay. Test is successful. Now I told Claude to continue and now it's checking whether the install went through, which should be the case. Yeah, install went through, nginx and certbot are in, nginx is active. So, of course, we want to proceed. Now, it's verifying the actual behavior and we should be good to go. Now, all 5 steps were implemented and here's a quick summary. The next step would be to issue a certificate for the following domain. Sudo certbot nginx, enter email address for urgent renewal. Of course, this is going to be my primary email address. I'm going to add yes, 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 account registered, requesting a certificate. We successfully requested a certificate for git.damiansavage.com and deployed it. Now with the SSL certificate in place, the DNS record I created back in phase 1 has propagated by now. That's why I did it early. Certificate issued. Now the web installer. Open git.damiansavage.com in browser. Everything's been going according to plan, and now we're going to set up the SQLite database as well as the path, which we're going to leave as is. The only thing I'm going to modify is the site title, which is going to be Damian's Gitea, and the rest is going to stay as is. The administrator account settings. Here we're going to add our administrator, Damian_Savage, email address and password confirmation. Now we're ready to install Gitea. We're going to save our password. Done. My own Git server. Phase 6, moving the repository. Gitea has a migration tool built in, so this is easier than it sounds. First, I need a GitHub token. On GitHub, under Settings, Developer Settings, Personal Access Tokens, Tokens Classic, I'm going to generate a new token, which I'm going to use. Back in Gitea, we're going to go to Plus, New Migration, and GitHub. We're going to migrate our project from github.com, use the access token, and add a user as the owner, which is going to be me, because that's currently the only user we have on Gitea. The repository name is going to be Portfolio, Issues, Labels, Releases, Checked. Now we're going to migrate the repository. And we're done. Look at this. Here we have the entire repository migrated to Gitea. Full commit history, all branches, all issues. That's not just a copy of the latest state, it's the actual repository. One decision here. There's a this repository will be a mirror checkbox. Check it and GitHub stays the source of truth while Gitea just follows. I'm leaving it off because I want Gitea to be primary now. Which means on my local machine, we're going to set the git remote to the following address. We're going to switch to our project directory, and here we're going to set our remote repository location. And as we can see, we're now able to authorize the application in our browser, and the remote repository has been set. Rejected main fetch first. Of course, this is definitely something we need to do. So let's git pull first before we're going to push again. We should be good to go and git push. There was a small typo with this hashtag right here, and after I fixed it, I used git push to check if everything's up to date. And as we can see, it is. Now we're done. My PC now pushes to my own server, getting the website live. Clone it onto the server. We're going to go to the home directory, git clone, and move into the directory we just created with the clone project. Of course, this was a PNPM project, and now what we're going to do, we're going to enable the carpack prepare PNPM latest activate, and now we've activated it. Now we're going to check for the PNPM version, PNPM install, frozen log file, and PNPM build. And now this is going to enable us to run the project correctly and deploy to the server. Ignore build scripts. Let me check if there's anything else we need to fix. ChatGPT is helping me out pretty well on this end because, of course, we had some configuration to get it up and running on Vercel. Now, of course, we need to fix that. And we're going to go to CD portfolio, approve builds. We're just going to go with Parcel. Yeah, creating an optimized production build for the website on the server right now after we've had some minor issues to fix. And as we can see, everything was correctly rendered. So I'll run it as a Node.js process behind nginx using PM2. So we're going to use the following commands. What we're going to do now, we're going to hit PM2 save, PM2 status, and check for the logs for the portfolio. Yeah, it's ready. It's actually working on PM2. So now let me check for the standalone build. Yeah, there it is. And then we're going to start it using this. And now we're going to check for the logs for the portfolio. And as we can see, everything should be up and running correctly. Let me just verify it once again. We should be good to go with the PM2 save, PM2 flush. I'm going to clear the logs. What we're going to do now for the standalone build, we're going to restart it and then check again for the logs. PM2 logs portfolio. Everything's up and running correctly as far as I can see. So what I'm going to do now is reroute it using nginx to get it to run. We should be able to access the website, and it actually works. Yeah, I mean, port 3001 is going to be the one we're going to use for the website because Gitea is already running on the 3001. And back to Claude Code for the nginx side. Now we're going to tell Claude to create an nginx site for damian-savage.com and www.damian-savage.com that reverse proxies to 127.0.0.1, port 3001. Add a limit rec zone in the HTTP block, rate 20 requests per second and apply it in the location block with burst 40, no delay. Add gzip and standard security headers. So we currently don't have any nginx configuration in the repo, so Claude will create one. Now Claude is currently setting up nginx, and yeah, there's the configuration file and what's in it. Short summary. 3 things I left as decisions for you. No TLS block, you didn't ask for it. The rate limit covers static assets too. Next static. No www apex redirect. Both hostnames serve identical content right now. Okay, so I think we're good to go with that. That's the layer 7 rate limiting I promised in phase 3. Netcup handles the network flood. This handles the HTTP flood. It won't stop a serious botnet, but it stops a single script hammering your server. Now the switch. We're going over to Ionis now. So this right now is the only moment where the site is at risk, so it's quick. Delete the Vercel A record. Now we're going to delete the www cname pointing to cname.vercel-dns.com. Now we're going to add a record with the server address. The host for the new A record is Coraconda, and it's going to be pointing at the server IP. We're going to save it. Works. Now we're going to add another record, A record, www as host, and same IP. And we're done. Now we wait for propagation, and then we're going to dig damiansavage.com/shard. Back on the server, I'm going to use the following command to check for the IP address that the URL is currently pointing to. I still had one faulty DNS record which pointed to Vercel, and now let's check whether it changed. No, not propagated yet. A few minutes to go. The other DNS records, for example, www.damiansavage.com, were already correctly propagated and are pointing to my service IP address, as we can see here. So let's check for the one without the www, and it's still pointing to Vercel, so it takes a few minutes. All right, we're going to stick to the command with www.damiansavage.com, and we can see that it's propagated. There's my server, and now we're going to create a certificate. Now what we're going to do, we're going to rerun the certificate creation just to make sure everything's up and running as expected. And now let's look at it. Now we're going to open up www.damian-savage.com in the browser. And here we can see that nginx hasn't been configured successfully. Let me check that real quick on the server. We're going to go over to sudo nano and we're going to create the configuration file. Then we're going to activate it, deactivate the default site, and rerun the configuration. We're going to curl the page. Yeah, looks good. Now we're going to use the certbot. Yes. Attempt to reinstall the existing. Now we've successfully deployed them. And there it is. My portfolio, my server, my certificate, my Git history. Done. And I can now delete the project from Vercel. And now, even though the project on Vercel doesn't exist anymore, the website is still running on my server. A quick note on troubleshooting. 4 things that will probably bite you. 1. You lock yourself out over SSH. Open SAP and use the remote console. It works even when SSH doesn't, and if that fails, restart the snapshot you took in phase 1. 2. Certbot fails with a challenge error. Your DNS hasn't propagated yet. Check with dig, wait, run it again. Nothing else is wrong. 3. A Docker container is reachable from the internet even though UFW says the port is closed. That's the IP tables issue I mentioned. Check every port's entry in your compose files and make sure they start with 127.0.0.1. 4. Traffic throttling. Netcup's flat rate is real, but if you push more than 3 terabytes in 24 hours, you get throttled to 300 megabits until that stops being true. For a portfolio site, you will never see this. Now, here's the thing. Once you understand the pattern, you can put anything on this server. The structure is always the same. Run the service on a local port. Bind it to 127.0.0.1, reverse proxy it through nginx, point to subdomain edit. Run certbot. That's it. Gitea on 3000, portfolio on 3001, the next thing on 3002. Same 5 steps every time. And with 16 gigabytes of RAM, you've got room for a lot of new things. Every one of those steps is something Claude Code can write for you once you tell it the port and the domain. I've prepared every single command from this video for you. All of it is in the description, copy-paste ready. The nginx configs, the compose file, the SSH config blog, the hardening file. The next step would be to set up automatic deployment. Right now, I still have to pull and rebuild by hand. A Gitea webhook and 5-line shell scripts fixes that. From here, you could add Uptime Kuma for monitoring, automated snapshots, and a Postgres instance or Cloudflare in front for real layer 7 protection. The key insight from today's video is that self-hosting isn't hard anymore. It's just unfamiliar. 7 phases, 1 server, 30 euros a month, no contract, and I own the entire pipeline. My name is Damian Savage. Thank you for watching. If this was helpful, subscribe for more AI and automation tutorials. See you in the next video.